Pick me up now. Every day.
Hello, everyone. I am your host, Deacon Adam.
I am your co-host, not Adam. I am Father Matthew Howell. Nice to see you, Deacon Adam.
Nice to see you. Man, you know, I'm doing more other shows than this show, and so it feels I'm trying to remember what it's like to do a Stories That Work show.
Well, that intro, that music right there by Dave Matthews.
So yeah. I do have updates, but before we do the updates, would you like to start us with a prayer?
Yes, I'd love to. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O heavenly King, O Comforter, the Spirit of truth, who art in all places and fillest all things, treasury of good things and giver of life, come and abide in us, cleanse us from every stain, and save our souls, O good one.
All right. So I think we're live. It looks like it. I'm always so nervous that I've messed this up again. It's live, right?
Sure.
Again. So today's topic.
Wait, updates.
Oh, updates. Okay, so I know we've done several episodes about this, and we're going to keep talking about it periodically. We're spreading it out, but the St. Athanasius Academy with online homeschool courses has classes 4th through 12th grade. Like, that's a big deal. We've officially added 4th and 5th grade. We have language arts and social studies. There's so many classes. I'm excited about teaching an apologetics class called Compelling Conversations. It's almost full. So the first one, the Wednesday one, is almost full. The Friday one still has plenty of room in it for someone who might be interested. And the idea behind that one is helping our teenagers be able to articulate their faith. Like, they're actually going to learn how to talk about it and state what the Orthodox faith is. We're actually going to spend all of our time on what it is and not on what it isn't, because that can be dangerous territory if we don't know what it is. What is marriage? Who are the apostles? Who is Jesus? You know, those kind of things.
Good.
So I'm excited about that class. I've already written the whole outline for the first semester. I'm working on the outline for the second semester, but there's a ton of classes there, both in core studies like math, social studies, that kind of stuff, and then all of our Orthodox studies. So that's where I've been spending a lot of time, is at St. Athanasius Academy. And then you've been working on the college side heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to make like the announcement that there's about I know we're finalizing dates.
Is it the live class that we're going to offer?
Yes,
okay.
So cool.
We're very excited about this. We just got the blessing to do this, and we are going to offer in the fall a class for clergy taught by Bishop John Abdullah, and it's called Pastoral Care Revisited. And it'll be a live class, so 10 weeks with real class time scheduled, and it'll be clergy bringing case studies to the class and talking about their pastoral experiences and receiving feedback and guidance, and learning how to reframe some things. So we will have registration open for that very soon. Bishop John has finished the syllabus, and we're just tying up a couple of loose ends. But it looks like we're going to do that September 15th through November 17th. It'll be 10 Tuesdays in a row, and it'll be such an exciting class. I'm going to be the first one to enroll, and then I called my dad and I said, hey, guess what? We're going to take a class together. You're going to enroll in this. So we're looking forward to it.
We can share a couple more details. What's the cost of the course?
The cost will be $399. And one reason for that is we have to ensure that somebody is very committed to participating in the class and attending. And also, it's something that clergy should be able to possibly write off on their taxes as a deduction for professional development, or have their parish pay for it, because this is going to be very helpful in the ministry.
Yeah, so we'll be opening registration enrollment for this in the next few days. We're going to open it to Antiochian clergy first, give them an opportunity, both priests and deacons.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we've given them an appropriate amount of time to decide if they want to participate, and I'll just go ahead and say you're missing out if you don't sign up, because 10 weeks.
Oh, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good.
And we have a class limit of 20. And we have 500 clergy in the archdiocese, so we probably will fill it up with the Antiochian clergy, but we'll give it a little bit of time with Antiochian clergy, and then if there's space left over, we'll open it up to other jurisdictions. And I hope you understand, with His Grace Bishop John, we do need to have this option first with our Antiochian clergy. So we'll see how that goes. And assuming it goes well, and we all believe it will, he's open to continuing teaching, continuing ed in a pastoral care setting. So that's exciting.
It's so exciting. We think it's going to be very helpful. And also, we have a couple other classes in the pipeline. Father Gregory Hogue is working on a class on logic and critical thinking. And we've opened up the personal finance class by Father John Hogue, Father Gregory's son. And we also have some other good classes on the college level in the hopper that are being built or developed this summer, such as American Civil Religion by Father Gregory Rogers, which will be a very interesting blend of history and theology. So lots of good things. Check out saaot.edu for the homeschool tutorial, and saintathanasiuscollege.com or .org. I can't remember.
.org for the college.
.org.
And these are all, you don't have to be pursuing a degree. All of the college courses are available as electives. So if you go check out the college, the course catalog, you'll probably see a class you're interested in. You can sign up just for that class and take it and check it out and see what you think. And we've posted the syllabus for almost all of the classes, so which is not normal.
All the classes that are open to registration at the moment have the syllabi connected to the class, so you can see the syllabus before you register. So if there's not a syllabus there, then the class isn't quite open for registration.
Yeah,
But
we have a few that are almost ready. Yeah. So we did that. As far as I know, it's not typical to see the syllabus early. We did that because we don't want to surprise you. Like, you want to know what the class is going to be, because you're paying for a college course, and this is a significant amount of your wallet. And so we just decided to make that public knowledge at this point. So those are my updates.
Those are my updates. I think we should bring out our guest and strong arm him into signing up for a class. What do you say?
Well, the last thing I want to say is, if you have not seen any of the interviews on racial reconciliation, please go back and start with Father Paul Abernathy from Monday of last week. I think Father Paul's making waves in an Orthodox way. Like, he just really helps set the tone in a stressful time for a lot of people. And a lot of people have found comfort in what he's had to say. And then we were able to continue that conversation with several other people in leadership positions, especially Mother Catherine on Friday, who really helped us understand systemic racism, because it's hard to see if you're looking for incidents. And she helped us notice some trends. And then Tuesday, we finished with Father Turbo Qualls, who did an amazing job of explaining why every church should be looking inward and evaluating themselves on where is my bigotry? Do I possibly have this?
Well, and every church should have a presence that welcomes people of all races. And that, in the business, they call that a segue into our guest.
Yes.
Do you like that? I'm learning, Deacon Adam. I'm learning.
I think it's time to bring him on then.
Yeah. So we've got two segues.
Okay, not to be confused, I'm the only deacon here.
Yeah.
And
hello, Adam.
Hi, how are you doing?
Our guest today is Adam Lindahl, who's coming to us from Washington. And because I knew that I was going to be surrounded by Adams, my name is not Adam, just to clarify.
Just to distinguish, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to change your name to co-host, just Father co-host.
Okay.
So why don't you introduce yourself. And what I want to say is I've always been interested in the idea of being a secret shopper. If you've ever gone into like a store or a restaurant and you're like, I wish I could like explain to them that they're really messing up. And the secret shop, and I remember working in restaurants and we're like, oh, someone's coming and we don't know when or who, or everybody better act better than normal so they don't know how bad we are at our service. And so I just think what you've done is so great. So why don't you introduce yourself first and explain kind of what the project is that we're talking about today?
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Adam Lindahl from Washington, as Father Matthew said. And I've been doing the St. Stephen's course for the last 5 years. It's a 3-year course, but a couple of years off there. But
it's okay. I did kindergarten that way too. Best 3 years of my life.
That makes me feel better. Yeah. And as part of that, you do these projects, which are like directed ministries where you pick something that you're interested in. You develop kind of an abstract and a plan, and then you execute it. And then your report is your final project. So my last project was sort of this secret shopper type thing. It kind of formed because in our parish, we've had a lot of conversations with the clergy and with parish council about, wow, we really wish we could know what it was like for somebody who's never been here before to come and see and give us, what their thoughts are. Because if someone stays and you can eventually ask them, but they're already part of the community by that point, and it's a little biased in that way, or they may never come back and you'll just never know whether they had a positive experience at your parish or a negative experience. And so it was an attempt to develop something that kind of helps answer that question for priests or parish councils or for whoever at different parishes. So this project really was like, okay, a priest or parish council is interested. And so they ask, hey, can you come and do an observation, be a visitor, which we go to parishes that not really a part of and that don't know us, and then take a look and say, okay, this is what we saw. This is the sort of welcoming aspects that we witnessed.
Well, and I want to point out for anybody that might start to get nervous, we're not going to share any this is all anonymous data, because I think it's going to be an eye opener for a number of people that the results that you went through. I'm going to throw one out there before we get forward, just so people can see what we're talking about. And then I want to get into how you did this, what you did, but I just want to give them a little bit of a hook so they can understand what we're dealing with. In none of the parishes visited was the observer greeted by a designated welcoming committee or greeter. In fact, it was noted that none appeared to be present in any parish. However, in 2 of the 6 parishes, 33%, the parish priest later revealed that a welcoming committee or greeter was supposed to be greeting visitors. And so this is the specific day they have a visitor, and you weren't greeted by a designated welcoming committee or greeter. So that's just one highlight of a number of things that we were able to draw a conclusion on. So I just wanted to give a glimpse into the kind of data we're going to get into. Yeah. Before, I don't know that we should start there. I just like teasing people.
Yeah.
Let's start with, so you talked about how this evolved, but let's talk more about what it is. And when you go to a parish as a secret shopper, secret visitor, secret worshiper, whatever the term is, as an observer, what are you looking for, and how are you evaluating? Like, do you have a scale of 1 to 10, or yes, no, or is it a mixture of both? Like, what do your metrics look like?
So definitely want to emphasize that it is not an evaluation. It's definitely an observation, and okay. It's information that's not really shared with anybody except the priest or the parish council. And if the priest wants to share it with the parish council or the whole parish, he can do whatever he wants with the information. It's not given to the dean. It's not given to the bishop. It's a tool for them to use so that they can get an idea. And so, it's a wide range of things that we looked at that ranged from, what was the interaction we had with the parishioners, to what was the website like, what was social media like, everything that leads somebody from finding the parish to being there and feeling like they belong. And we didn't really use a rating scale, again, just kind of fitting with that observation. We kept it more like, okay, this is what we saw. And then the priest can make an evaluation of him for himself. Like, okay, what does this mean for our parish? Because things do vary depending on, where the parish is at and different circumstances. So we wanted to avoid kind of this comparison and say, okay, this was a 1 out of 10 and this was a 1 out of 10. We didn't really, didn't really suit it.
And you are simply relaying information that is there for that is presumably there and apparent to any outsider coming into the parish, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not doing investigative reporting.
No.
like asking people like a coffee hour.
Right.
Like, so is Father being nice to you? Like
right.
nothing like that, right?
Like that. No. There was one aspect that I would have liked to do, but logistically ended up being a little more challenging, was in the community, like asking people, hey, do you know what that church is? And just seeing like, okay, how much awareness it is, but that's not something that we ended up doing. Something that could have been done.
That's almost something that the parish can do themselves though.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Parishioners can call the pregnancy center or call, make a list of different places and talk to them. So,
yeah.
And did in any of your visits, first of all, how many visits did you make?
So we did a sample size of 6, which seemed like a pretty decent size. Being in the Diocese of the Northwest, it's a pretty spread out diocese. So 6 was about as much as we could handle for the time period that a project handled. Yeah. And
out of those 6, did presumably you had contact with the priest every time before you came, right?
Yeah, we arranged it with the priest, so he would be the only one that knew that we were coming.
And did any of the priests tell you to look out for something?
No.
Or okay.
No. Yeah, they all kept it just, I don't want to load you up with anything. Just come and do your evaluation and tell us what you think,
Did any of them forget that you were coming?
Yeah, actually, 2 out of the 6, I think, totally forgot that we were coming, or at least they forgot which day it was. So I
would have forgotten.
Right, roughly around this time. But I think that's a good way to do it, because then you see without even the priest's biased,
Yeah, that's good. I always thought the bishop should show up like that.
In a costume.
No,
like
not in a costume. No, just unannounced. Just walk in Sunday morning, and see how things are.
Yeah,
because it's very different when the bishops aren't there, right? So
I'm still voting for the costume. They can dress up, like St. Nicholas. Come in speaking Turkish or something.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Speaking of costumes, we definitely didn't hide the fact that my wife and I are Orthodox Christians. We acted like we didn't want to. That just seemed dishonest, and to act like we didn't know what was going on.
Okay, so you went in as Orthodox Christians. You went to each church prepared to receive communion, right? And you're standing in the service, crossing yourself, all these things. So really, these observations could be very different to a non-Orthodox person, right?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And that was done maybe 15 years ago by Father Peter Gilquist. Had a friend of his come in that was not Orthodox and did like that secret shopper kind of thing, and it was not a good report.
Yeah, it definitely will have different results. I think that in our experience in our parish, if we see somebody and we can tell that they're Orthodox, you kind of breathe a sigh of relief. It's like, okay, I don't have to pay as much attention because they're Orthodox, you know, they're comfortable to some extent by default. But I think in some ways that makes it more severe. Like we're more likely to have like a worse reception because of that. And, you know, maybe that's true. It's tough to tell, but, you know.
Well,
It's interesting.
Yeah, so I think this might be a good time to let people know we're interested in continuing this observation project. But there are certain qualities that we would look for in an observer, right? And so if you think your church needs an observer, what do you feel like is the important part about if we're going to continue this with Orthodox Christians visiting other churches? What were some of the important aspects to you as that observer, like keeping in mind to try to be fair? Because I know we talked about that several times. You really wanted to be fair to the parish.
Yeah, you definitely have to set aside your own like ideas of what's good, you know, because you always kind of have these things like, oh, I wish our parish would do this because I think it would be better. And you kind of have to set those aside and just look at observations. Yeah, your emotions can kind of play into it. Like if you feel offended for whatever reason, like that can maybe sour something. But at the same time, that kind of feeds into these observations. Like we felt this certain way. But yeah, it definitely needs to be pretty objective, but it's also really good to have some basis. Like if you're involved in your own parish to know like, okay, this is the kind of the baseline is my parish. This is what we do. How does it compare? So that you at least have some frame of reference, you know, because, you know, what is really a 10 out of 10 parish versus a 1 out of 10 parish can vary for different people. So sticking to observations is really important.
I thought the other thing that was important, and I have experience with this for those who don't know, I was involved in the first national study on Orthodox evangelism in North America with the Assembly of Bishops with Alexei Krindach, and I did a special bonus chapter on how welcoming the websites were. Mm-hmm. And this is the first portion for most of our visitors. They're coming through a website, getting information, not because of personal invitation. So I was thankful that you included that information in your report. Do you want to talk about the takeaway from that?
Sure. Yeah. So we included the website and other internet presence because especially in this day and age, but especially with young people, that is going to be their first experience with the parish. It may not be the way they hear about it for the first time, but if they hear about it and they want, they're interested and they want more information, that's where they're going to go. So yeah, we included that, and so it worked out such that we'd go through the website first, look at the internet presence, and then go to the parish as if somebody was going to visit might do. So overall, the websites were consistently the worst thing that we saw. They weren't all bad, but consistently lower quality than you would hope. Some of the biggest things were just, they clearly didn't have a webmaster. You know, there's a lot of broken links. I think in 2/3 of the parishes, there were multiple broken links, not just like one here or there that, could happen over time, but like they have a page of links. Oh, Ancient Faith Radio, or here's the Archdiocese website. And there were many that are broken. So there was that. Another one is a lack of really good About Orthodoxy page, which I thought was interesting. Most had one, but they were really sparse, or they went a little bit too far and it was just like a big library of articles. Here's all of our theology. Here's what every icon means. And it, from somebody that wouldn't know anything, it would be a little overwhelming. And then 100% of the parishes didn't have a visitor page on their website, somewhere that's specifically designed for, hey, you're going to come for the first time. Well, here's some things to think about. You're welcome, a welcome statement, that was lacking in every parish. Yeah.
Yep. Guilty. Yep. Guilty.
All right.
So if my webmaster is watching this right now, guess what? We're gonna do a visitor page. It's going up next week.
Oh, you have someone who wants to say hello. We already getting some good comments, but I was going to share this for you, Adam, right here from Lisa.
Oh yeah,
And you do a great job.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wait! You're a webmaster for a church. Does that church have a visitor page?
I'm the webmaster for 2 different church websites, and yes, they both have visitor pages. They both have about Orthodoxy pages. Well, and it's really nice through this. I gained a lot of experience to bring back to what I've already been working on.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have anything else to discuss, Father Matthew or Adam, before we get into some of the results? Have we missed anything?
I think that covers it. I think we should address Matushka Maria Weir's comment. So
which one do you want to? I see 2 comments.
The second one. The first one, hello, Matushka. So a little backstory. Father Joel and Matushka Maria were my neighbors for 2 years at seminary. They lived on the other side of the duplex in Pennsylvania. So they're like big brother and big sister to my wife and me.
Yeah.
But her second comment, I think, is really thoughtful. And the gist of it is,
saying that you look like
ahead.
You're still a little kid.
Yeah, I haven't changed, except I have a beard now. So
you have an anti-aging secret.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go on to this next comment. She wants to know what it would look like to have a secret shopper. And I think what's nice here is, considering the different educational, ethnic, or socioeconomic classes, the variety of people that are visiting, are they all going to feel welcome? And we've heard several people talk about, Father Turbo Qualls talked about this on Tuesday. Like, are there certain people we're okay with visiting and others that we don't want? Like, does our quality of greeting change depending on who's walking in the door?
Yeah, I think this is a really great comment. Given everything that's going on now, it's something that's at the forefront. I think that would be very, very valuable. It's definitely for our sample, it was very, ethnically similar, and I was ethnically similar to the people that were in the parish. So, yeah, I think that 100% plays into it. It would be interesting to see, people of different ethnicities visiting and seeing if there is a difference.
We have another comment from Kenny. Or do you want to go first?
Would it be so on your observation form, Adam? Like, that just seems like another thing to put on there. Like, describe the observer, right? And did the observer feel that their experience might have been different than someone else based on how they look or how they talk or something like that? So
that could be something that could be observed if the observer sees other visitors. Maybe right. It would be really hard to judge, I think, for somebody that's of one race, judging, do I think that they wouldn't have?
Right. I think maybe if we added the information of I'm a Caucasian male visiting, and it looks like the large portion of the parish is such and such, Middle Eastern, Greek, white, whatever that is, of our typical demographics, basically, in our Orthodox churches.
Yeah. Well, and this ties into Kenny's point too.
Yes.
If you want to
go ahead and bring that
back
up here. You could do some YouTube training for secret shoppers to get more volunteers, then unleash the shoppers to visit multiple churches over 4 weeks, and you could get multiple perspectives on one church. So what we're talking about there, basically, I think is more than one. The online training, which I agree with completely, because we want to make this you would want to make this accessible, but also maybe doing 2 or 3 visitors. And then, if you do 3 of these, or if you could get 3 visitors to do it, you could kind of average those results and get an idea of you're getting a better sampling, basically.
Yeah, and especially if you get visitors showing up on the same day, you could see, did it look like more attention was paid to somebody else who showed up earlier or whatever? Because some churches, if they have a greeter, an usher, a welcoming committee, or whatever. Like they might not be prepared for a lot of visitors at one time, right?
Yeah.
I'm speaking from experience that it could happen in that regard.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. You know, this was a relatively small sample size from one visitor, so it's
Right.
a narrow perspective for sure. So it would be great to broaden it, have more diversity, have more people for one parish. Yeah, that's really good idea.
The other thing to keep in mind, and this is something, Father Matthew, you and I are probably not good at understanding fully at this point, but for where we are. But basically, any clergy family that walks in without someone in a cassock or a collar, they feel ignored versus when they're with their dad or their husband who's in a cat. I've heard this from multiple like clergy wives or clergy kids, PKs, that like, you know, it's like if they go and they're not with their dad or their husband, they're pretty much ignored. But when he's there, you know, oh, we have a visiting clergyman, or, you know, somebody wearing a cassock in some way, because it stands out. They're like, oh, he's somebody maybe we should check on. I'm not going to worry about the other visitors not wearing a cassock, right? And so it's, you know, while I'm thankful we're approaching those in a cassock who are visiting, we are missing the boat on this other area.
Right. And that's no different than any church in America. So, for example, I know some people who were part of a mega church in Southern California, non-denominational mega church. And anytime a celebrity showed up, they would get a seat in the front row and special attention. But the other visitors would get like, you know, the back stadium seating, right? Like nosebleeds, like, hey, here, fill out this card. Thanks so much. And people picked up on that. They picked up on that differential treatment. And I think, you know, it is important for parishes to treat everybody well, right? And be welcoming to everybody. And I think also it's important that, like with your observations, Adam, it seems like this is a full like weekend experience observation. So it's not just what happened in the church, but also like, did you go to coffee hour? Were you spoken to at coffee hour? Were you acknowledged ever by anybody? Did anybody introduce themselves to you? You take the full gamut, right? From the time you pull into the parking lot to the time you leave.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did any church even follow up with you? Like, not talking about the priest who knew you were there for this purpose, but like, was there any follow up by any church?
So, do you mean like long time after, or just immediately after?
Just immediately. Like, did they ask you to fill out a card, sign a guest book, like send you a thank you note, anything like that? Send you an email, hey, it was nice to meet you. Anything like that happen?
Certainly none of that. I actually don't think there was
certainly not.
I say certainly not because I don't think there was a guest book in any of the parishes that we went to that we could actually write, you know, our information down in. I don't remember ever seeing that. But we were definitely, you know, talked to at coffee hour, invited to coffee hour. This was one area that was kind of split. You know, 50% of the parishes had really good engagement from parishioners that talked to us and invited us to coffee hour. And then when we were at coffee hour, engaged us, asked us where we were from. That was really good, very solid in about half the parishes. The other half, yeah, that was a little less good. But yeah. So there was some of that, but follow up outside once we've left, no, didn't have any of that.
What's your there? You go ahead, Father.
Oh, I was just going to say, I had somebody in my first year at my parish. I had somebody come to the church for 6 months, like almost every Sunday. And finally, they called me, said, I'm not going to come back because nobody talks to me. I was heartbroken. They said, you're the only one that talks to me. And I was like, what? Like, really? Mm-hmm. And it's really easy when somebody, and they still consider themselves to be like a visitor, right? Like for those 6 months, but people just kind of got used to seeing them and just said, "Oh, well, they're fine. They just fit right in," and it's something to be aware of, like that everybody, even if there is a welcoming committee, and I've argued with Deacon Adam about this, even if there is an usher, like it's everybody's job to be welcoming. And there's a danger in outsourcing the hospitality to an usher or a welcoming committee.
Yeah.
There's a balance.
And what I'm saying is we're so bad at it. We need to have at least one person that knows they're doing it because nobody else is.
That's true. I think both of our points can stand together to help parishes with this.
Yeah. We have another question. If you want to answer this, Adam, before you go to your next.
Sure.
Are you going to? Did you only go to Antiochian parishes?
So for this project, yes. We worked with the dean to find priests that would be interested in this. So for this sample size, it was just Antiochian parishes, but it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to that as it moves forward.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam, just so you know, your mother-in-law she's watching, and she says this is an important reminder to all of us.
So
hi, Donna.
There's a lot of great data in your report. And before we get through all of the results, which is where I have to admit, when I opened the document, I read like one paragraph and then went to the results. But we had talked so much. I was just so anxious to see your results. So before we get into that, what's your takeaway from this whole thing?
So main takeaways are that there are some things that we do pretty well in the terms of welcoming, and there's some things that we need a lot of work on. But as a project, it was really amazing to have these conversations, to visit parishes we would not have gone to otherwise, to meet people, to meet the priests, and to also bring these back to our own parish and improve our own welcoming, which was very, very helpful. Yeah. So it's a great project.
Yeah. Kenny wants to, we've made Kenny feel better today. He said, awesome. It's not just us in the GOA that are terrible at this.
But there are more GOA parishes than any other parish. So there's more likely, more opportunities for this to happen in the GOA.
Yeah.
I don't like saying this, but out of our 2,000 churches in North America, I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of them, this sampling really doesn't, what we're talking about really doesn't surprise people, sadly. And we just needed a wake-up call and a reminder that we're just not doing a good job with the people that automatically come through our doors.
Yep.
Which statistic or which piece of the results would you say you went through the experience, but as you're compiling your report, which one was the most surprising or shocking to you?
I think that what was most surprising or shocking was just how bad the websites are in this day and age, where the digital media is so important, and not even the websites, but also just the internet presence in general, coming up in search engines, for example, or social media presence. Is information correct in the Archdiocese website or the Assembly of Bishops website? Those sorts of things, or on Google for that matter. Those sorts of things were all lacking in a way that I wasn't expecting. I've seen a lot of parish websites that definitely could use some work, but to have it be so consistent over a wide area that we covered, and lots of different parishes in different places with different situations, for it to be so consistent was definitely shocking.
Yeah. I had already kind of went through, I evaluated 76 church websites for the Assembly of Bishops, and it was a little depressing going through all 76 of them. And Alexi Krendach helped me come up with our litmus test, because we wanted to be able to be fair across the board, and it just was not encouraging at all. There are several key pieces of information here that, and by the way, I'm going to let you know at the end of this, I will share a link to the report. I just don't want you running off and reading it while we're still talking. So for anybody,
it's like reading the bulletin during a homily.
Right. That's the only time I read the bulletin. So I want to go through the results, and then at the end of this, we'll share a link to the report. I already shared the early one, so if you come on later, I shared this one early on, but in none of the parishes visited were the observers greeted by a designated welcoming committee or greeter. In fact, it was noted that none appeared to be present in any parish. However, in 2 of the 6 parishes, the parish priest later revealed that a welcoming committee or greeter was supposed to be greeting visitors. So 2 of them messed up, and 4 of them didn't even have something, to your knowledge, in place.
Right. Yeah. And, having a welcoming committee, as you said, is not necessarily essential if the parishioners themselves are good at it and kind of become the welcoming committee just by default. But to have that backup just in case, to make sure that every single person that walks through the door, whether they're a visitor or not, because like you said, Father Matthew, somebody came for 6 months and felt like nobody talked to them, to just have that person being there and saying, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Friend I've known for 5 years. I'm glad you're here. Someone who I'm just meeting now. It's a very valuable thing, and it definitely was missing. It's definitely missing. I do want to say, though, that the 2 parishes that did have it, but they weren't present, I think there were some extenuating circumstances. I think it was interesting that 3 of the parishes, the priest, said that, okay, the bishop was in this other parish on this day, and that's why so-and-so wasn't here. Or we had these other visitors, or there was a wedding going on, and so some people are absent for that. But that was half the parishes. So that means half the time there's extenuating circumstances that could compromise that. So it's interesting to see those things.
This is where I think it's important to have a robust welcoming ministry, because the people will be away. They're going to travel. They're going to go somewhere. You can't have Tom, who does it all the time, and then when the day that Tom's gone, you get 10 visitors.
It happens. I swear it happens.
Right? And so we need to be prepared for this. I have a priest I talked to about this, that he was in a mission for 5 years and was one of the few Orthodox churches in the area. So it was a college town, and he estimated in his 5 years that he thinks they might have had 500 visitors. And hardly any of them came back for a second visit. And he's convinced that their welcoming ministry was awful, and that these are people walking through the door. They don't even have to do evangelism. They just got to be nice to them and friendly. They're already there. Like, this should be the easiest thing in the world. And he was frustrated that we were he was not even able to really acknowledge that they should at least be doing that, as a minimum. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I shared the document kind of late with you, Father Matthew, so I don't know if you had a chance, because I should have shared it with you earlier. That's my fault if you didn't get a chance to read it. I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I like being surprised.
Okay.
So Adam, what did the parishes do well?
So there were a couple things that we consistently do well. How well the building is taken care of, the beauty of the liturgy, which is very hard to compromise. But we take care of our buildings really well. We take care of the grounds really well. It's clear that we care. That's one thing I noted. That was a section on our observation list that, we paid some attention to. When we come up, is paint peeling? Are the signs faded and dilapidated? And I never had any negative observations in that regard. So we do that very, very well. Also really well was having materials for visitors available. I think that this speaks to ancient faith really well. They have that set of
the visitors rack.
Yeah, exactly. There were those materials available everywhere. And some really nice brochures. And in one parish in particular, they had a folder, specifically a visitor packet, that had a beautiful welcome message in it. It had all the service information, had contact information. It had some information on what to expect on your first visit. Some other things that, a visitor could take home and look at on the internet if they wanted to. And that was really spectacular. That parish also did practically everything else perfect as well, but that was something consistent.
All right, but nobody's perfect. So what did that parish do poorly? Come on.
I can't say which parish it was, but that was the one parish that I talked to the priest, and I was like, I can't think of anything. Social media, maybe, having a more of a presence there, but that could really come down to people's opinion, whether that's important or not. Because
yeah, exactly. And as a priest, I can say it's always turbulent waters when you venture out into social media. So I
have a positive thing that this was my perspective of the report. And Adam, you tell me if you feel the same way, because you had the actual interview. But from what I'm reading here, I think one positive takeaway is it feels like the priest really, all of the pastors really appreciated the information you gave them.
Oh, yeah. There was no negative feedback whatsoever. They were all very happy to have the information. And I think about half of them told me that they were bringing it to their parish councils to discuss it further. So there was a lot of positive feedback from the priests. There were a couple discussion points, not really negative stuff, but just, is this as relevant as you make it out to be? For example, one particularly rural parish where the website didn't really factor in that much to the new visitors that they had or the new catechumens that they had. So that maybe was a little overweighted for that particular circumstance, but that, that's, again, it's just observations, and the priest can do with that information what they will.
Yeah. We only have a couple of minutes left. So Father Matthew, do you have a final question or anything?
I think this is a very interesting and important project. And I think it would be good, as Matushka Maria suggested, to have observers with different backgrounds and coming from different places. And I know for me personally, I grew up in the Orthodox Church. I do not know what it's like to go to an Orthodox church without knowing anything about what's going on. And so having feedback like this is extraordinarily helpful for someone like me, because I don't have the experience of walking in and feeling completely uncomfortable. I've walked into churches and felt uncomfortable for various reasons, but I at least knew what was supposed to be going on, right? And so I think I would venture to guess that most priests would love to have this information, but as it is with so many things, it's one more thing that would fall on our shoulders. And how do we coordinate this? So that's the question. If a priest is watching, how do we coordinate this and get this information without tainting the information, right? I don't have people that I know who can just easily come to my church without being known by other people in my church, because the Orthodox communities here in Alaska, as you know, are very close knit. There's a lot of cross-pollination, so to speak, between the churches. So how do we do this? And now you've been outed.
Recruit a coworker.
Okay. Yeah, that's one way to go. Yeah. And now Adam, you've been outed like a CIA operative. Like, you can't just show up in churches anymore.
He's gonna have to wear a costume.
I'll just grow my hair.
Show Darth Vader.
Yeah. It's a black robe. It fits.
But I will speak on behalf of priests who say that we want this information and we want the feedback even when it hurts, so that we can do better. But then, is there feedback from you, like in that discussion with the priest going over the results, the observations? Do you give feedback about ways that the priest might be able to improve or educate or train people? Because that's the next step.
Yeah, so we definitely had a discussion, but it was centered on the observations. I let them ask, like, "Oh, have you seen what's been done in other parishes that I can use to improve this?" And because I've been to multiple parishes now, having done this, there is information to share to help, and so it builds. The more it's done, the more information can be shared. So yeah, that's the next step for sure.
Well, there's a whole lot more to talk about. I liked Kenny's idea about doing some online training videos. I think we should talk about that. That's something, Adam, you and I could work on. I've got, you've got all of this experience now, and I think it'd be great to start to look at delivering that in an online format, starting there, see who is interested in volunteering. Like, just put that out there. Who would love to visit other churches and be an observer, who can contact the dean. So I think we could put together something simple just to get started. And maybe that's how we continue this and see where it goes. And I'm sharing the link right now to the report. I've added it to the Missions and Evangelism website. And so there's the link in the comment section. It's on the growth tab at the very top. First thing you see, so you don't have to go hunting around for it on the website. And hopefully, the comment didn't go through. Oh, it did. Okay, it looks like it went through.
Yeah, your comment went through. We have one more comment from Matushka Maria, who brings up a really good point about this, that it's just to keep the perspective in balance. In a parish with a small parish with lots of kids, most of the adults are multitasking, right? Either during the service or even after the service, people have multiple roles and whatever. And it is difficult to train people to greet visitors. And in a small parish, it might be more like all hands on deck. It might be parish-wide training. But she does say that, we need to train greeters on how to help visitors use the weekly service books and the changing texts. And also, now that we've been COVID streaming and plan to continue, we need virtual greeters. So that's like the next frontier of hospitality.
Oh, yeah. Well, just to add to that about, people being busy, that, that's totally understandable. But a smile, just a simple smile, goes a really, really long way. And there's a big difference between, there was one parish in which we were not acknowledged in any way, shape, or form. Even if it was just one or two smiles, it would make a really big difference.
Yeah.
So, for example, you walk in the middle of the service. Like, you walk in and the service is already going on. Most Orthodox people don't want to just have a conversation with you at that point, right? So what I hear you saying is something like a smile, good morning, like that's enough to hold you over. And then after the service is when the conversation could occur. And is right?
Exactly.
And that would change your whole experience of the actual service. Because
it tells the visitor that the parishioners are comfortable having them there and that they want them there. And that's the most important thing. That's the spirit of all of this. Is we want them there.
Yeah. Well, we're out of time. I wish we could keep talking about it because I think this project is fascinating. And Adam, thank you for doing the project. I love this report. I think this is very important for us. And I think that the information that you've shared has shown that we do have a number of priests who would love to have this information for their churches. So we will wrap it up now. And hopefully something takes off. And when we have updates, we'll share those updates.
That's great. Yeah, thank you so much.
If somebody's interested, Deacon Adam, should they contact you about this?
Yeah. Contact me.
Who should they contact if they want to know more about this?
Contact the Department of Missions Evangelism, and I'll put you in contact with Adam if that makes sense. Or depending on when you contact us, I don't know how much progress we would have made, towards taking this to the next step. But Adam, I've been involved in like 14 other projects since you did this. So I've been saving that report for a while to get to it. So I'm glad I finally was able to do that. Okay.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
I'll be disappearing next week into the Colorado Rockies. So, Father Matthew, you'll be co-hosting by yourself.
I'll be hosting. I'll slide into the captain's chair. And next week, our guest is going to be our 4th and 5th grade English teacher for the St. Athanasius Academy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you.